So our next speaker for the day is Ms. Vandana Bhatnagar, Head of Talent Management, Ericsson. Welcome, Vandana. The stage is all yours. I can just present the thing. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Ambreen. And my apologies to everybody. A very good afternoon. My apologies to everybody. Had a bit of a technical glitch. So unfortunately, I'm not able to share my video. But of course, I will talk about how we look at diversity within the organization. I'll briefly talk about, some of the programs that we have for women as well as underrepresented groups within the organization. But I'll focus on one particular program, which of course is a key program for us, which targets segments in terms of, starting off segments, women who are early in their career to about, high levels within the organization. And I'll also talk about the reason why we ventured into that program. So of course, needless to say, 8th of March is International Women's Day. So a very happy International Women's Day to all of you. I think the strength that we bring across to the organization, I think I have an August audience here, so I don't need to delve into that. But I think from an organizational standpoint, we at Ericsson believe that diverse, inclusive teams actually drive performance and innovation, creating greater business value. And when we're looking at diversity, we actually look at diversity in a larger sense of the term. And an important piece for us becomes inclusion. When we're talking about diversity, we're talking about cognitive perspectives, we're talking about education, different work experiences, personal life experiences in addition to individual background, race, gender, sexual orientation, etc. And we consider that creating diversity and inclusion in everything that we do and building teams that reflect our approach is extremely important to the organization. So, beginning from the employee life cycle in terms of early career recruitment, we have a lot of programs. I'm just going to briefly touch upon some of the programs that we have. And ideally, the target segment group that we're tapping in with those programs is women early on in the career, along with men, and of course, uh, people that we see as high potentials within the organizations. So one of the programs that we have in that space is, of course, the early career program. It's a fast track attraction and development program for young professionals. Uh, it's a 18-month program, which where we have two tracks, which is innovate and accelerate. Uh, the endeavor here is to make sure that we're attracting the best young talent in the industry and also fast tracking their growth within the organization. We partnered with the Northwestern University and we run this program again for young talent and women called the Magnet for Global Innovation. This is a high touch program designed for employees who have a creative approach to problem solving and they're passionate about technology, innovation, and digitalization. Besides that, just to make sure we're giving a holistic development to both our young talent and women, we have something called the Next Gen Advisory Board. Uh, it's a 12-month assignment that offers a unique opportunity to work with Ericsson's top executive layer. So, it's based on the concept of reverse mentoring. Uh, we get people from all across Ericsson. We choose the topmost talent in terms of both performance and potential. And participation provides the opportunity to this diverse group to be, you know, giving advice to the executive team on challenges that face the organization. What I'm going to focus on, like I mentioned earlier, is of course the program that we run specifically for women in terms of maybe second level of their career across to senior executive level women. Uh, what I'm going to cover in that program is, of course, the purpose why we started this program. Uh, why a program for women? Because, of course, we look at diversity in a larger spread, which, like I mentioned to you, a lot of focus on generational, gender, cross-cultural, and of course, people with different sexual orientation. I'll talk about some of the learning journey. How do we make this program meaningful and also, translate that back into maybe a third level measurement or a fourth level measurement. I'll talk about some of that as well. And of course, towards the end, if you have any questions for me, I'll be happy to answer them for you. So, of course, from an altitude purpose perspective, we of course call our program Altitude. Uh, for Ericsson, I think the biggest ROI that we see from this program is that we're able to accelerate women into leading positions within commercial, technical, and delivery roles. Basis, a lot of study that we did, we wanted to ensure that across levels within Ericsson, we had a good representation of women across the organization. And that's the reason, a lot of focus on altitude. From a participant standpoint, uh, our endeavor is to help participants' career progression. Uh, and this is to ensure that we have the best talent. We have a diverse talent across the levels within the company. Now, for the participants, the endeavor with Altitude is to help participants' career progression by making sure that we're providing the tools and the resources for them to self-manage their careers, especially focusing on the barriers, which are known to impede women's growth in the organizations. We take that very seriously. We want to make sure that we've provided the tools, techniques, and support that women require and other underrepresented groups within the organization as well. So if we move on, of course, I've covered pieces of, why altitude is so important. If we can move on to the next slide, please. Just a bit of a background in terms of why we came up with this program in the form and shape that we have it today. So based on, critical research in the area of women uh, representation in corporate world, and of course the company that we partner with, uh, the research shows that there are three overarching barriers to women's progression in the organization. The first, of course, being societal barriers, and we can move to the next slide. Thanks, Amreen. So the first category of barriers, that we understand, which is a barrier for women's career progression, is uh, societal barriers. These this relates to the subtle and often unspoken societal and cultural cues and messages, maybe that women or all of us may have received over our lifetimes, which reinforce ways in which men and women ought to behave. And this may be more prevalent in certain societies than the others. Uh, a second area of barriers, of course, is related to the organization or the workplace. Some of these are structural, which could be experiences and networks, which are more difficult for women to access. And I think we all know about that. And others relate to organizational cultures and norms, which disadvantage women. And I can maybe talk about that a little later in the session once, I've covered what we do in this particular program, because this was a critical reason why we came up with the program, just to make sure that we were supporting women uh, to support their careers within the organization. And the third, of course, what the study focuses on is personal barriers. This relates to how women present themselves in the workplace, whether that be with the reticence to put oneself forward for promotion or for visibility, getting into the high profile assignments or maybe getting the corner office, not pushing to be heard during meetings or trying to maybe replicate male models of leadership sometimes. Uh, we, of course, look at these as personal barriers. Now, based on this research, we also spoke with a lot of critical stakeholders within the company across levels. And we came up with, within these three barriers, what were the important ones for us as an organization to focus on, basis, what we'd heard from our employee engagement feedback, or maybe, the feedback that we heard from women, or also the talent acquisition team when we are looking at recruiting internally. So based on then based on that, of course, we structured a program. The altitude, of course, focuses on a combination of personal and organizational barriers, because we do understand that societal barriers may be within our scope of and span of work. Uh, So the first thing, to do away with the organizational and personal barriers is we look at sponsorship, providing participants with dedicated sponsors. And of course, we do have a sponsory matching, and I'll talk about that just in a bit. Uh, Another area that Altitude focuses on is critical experiences, which is giving targeted development to women employees basis understanding what their strengths are and what are the areas that we need to strengthen so that they can be a force to reckon with as they move across the organization and navigate their careers within the organization. A third area, and which maybe is also a large barrier as far as organizational barriers are concerned, is the whole element of leadership versus likability. Uh, so during the program, we focus on developing an authentic leadership style. Not getting into any cookie cutter approach to leadership, but developing the authentic leadership style. Another area, which we feel is important, from both a personal barrier and an organizational barrier standpoint, is networks. So the program again focuses on making sure that the participants build strong and purposeful networks across the organization. Also understand the importance of that. Uh, Again, an area which women sometimes find difficult to navigate, especially if you're starting as a leader early on in your career, is politics. So we said that that's one critical area. Again, we'll make sure that we're giving the know-how and maybe just a simple matrix to help our women leaders manage that politics within the organization as well. Because a firm belief is that if you don't watch your back from both a performance and engagement standpoint, you contribute to the organization at a much larger level. So I think addressing willingness and ability to navigate organizational politics, because all of us understand that that will be there. In what shape and form, to what degree, that of course is different, but that becomes really important. From a personal barrier standpoint, of course, the program focuses on enhancing visibility and personal impact. To make sure that both from an executive presence standpoint as well as creating their visibility, women are forces to reckon with. The final piece, of course, that our program focuses on is confidence, which is increasing confidence in terms of as far as women are concerned, self-efficacy, and helping to manage the imposter syndrome. So I'm just going to talk briefly about the learning journey and how we make sure that we're looking at all the aspects in the program. If we move to the next slide, of course, I'll just give you a brief program overview. Maybe we can move to the next slide because again, looking at the 70-20-10 principle, we've made sure that we've got that encompassed into the whole way that we've structured the program. The purpose of the altitude, of course, is uh, acceleration program to test out the proof of concept. We believe that career progression compromises of several key components, which is critical on the job experiences, job, business, industry relevant knowledge and skills, and of course, leadership behaviors. Additionally, we also believe that an individual must have the aspiration for progression, and the circumstances must provide the opportunity for progression. The program focuses, on developing personal leadership and behaviors, and I spoke about that earlier, authentic leadership. The program also assumes that selected individuals have the aspiration for progression because we are looking at high potential women, and that the knowledge and skills development will continue to be managed throughout their existence within the company through various developmental channels. And we have a plethora of developmental channels within the company. It's also understood that the critical career experiences are critical, and so moves and special assignments are expected to happen for these participants, and that's the reason we get the sponsors in to make sure that they're advocating for these women and making sure that they also are building networks so women can get those experiences on the job, both in terms of permanent assignments or stretch assignments. And this, of course, is enabled both by the sponsors as well as other key stakeholders, and the manager being one of the important critical elements of the program. So now, if you look at the journey, the overview of the learning journey, of course, we begin with the nomination process. We're looking at high potential women, high performing and high potential women within the organization. We start early on with working with the people function team. When I say people function, some of you may be familiar. For the others, it's of course HR. We call it people function within the organization. So we start that process early on because we want to make sure that the areas that these women want to focus on are the areas that the sponsor has in strength as well. So, that the coaching can happen as well as the sponsor has experiences in those areas. Then, of course, post the program launch, we do have an engagement with our people function, with our uh, line leaders, and of course the participants to make sure that we're setting expectations and what is the role that each of them play in making success out of this program that we run within the organization. Of course, needless to say, we first begin the program with a 360-degree and a personality assessment. We have two sorts of assessments just to make sure that we're getting a commonality in terms of what is the strength for each individual and what are the areas that we want to strengthen as we move them or make them ready for taking on senior leadership roles within the organization. We post this, of course, we have an hour of a sponsor and sponsory briefing just to make sure that, we helping them both understand what is the role, what does that entail, and how can both of them benefit from that sponsor and sponsory role. Uh, basis the inputs that have come from the personality assessment and the 360, we have a focused IDP that the participants need to build up, which is we have a coach, and I'll talk a little bit about that, depending on the time that I have, a little bit more in detail into terms of why this targeted development, when we're looking at women folk within the organization. So, we have external coach, we have the manager, and we, of course, have the participant basis, the feedback that's come in from the 360 personality assessment, and of course, recurring feedback that's come in. We make sure that the participants are planning a very targeted IDP, of course, in concurrence with their manager. And then, of course, we kick off the whole journey with a group coaching session. The first leadership workshop, of course, that we have is authentic leadership workshop. And of course, the structure of the whole learning journey is virtual. So we have this first workshop on authentic leadership. If you see, later in terms of the journey that we have, the second workshop that we have is on executive presence and impact, because we feel that becomes important as you keep climbing up the corporate ladder. Then, of course, there are various uh, throughout the program. Of course, there are various check-ins and collations with the sponsor, and of course, we have about 4 group coaching sessions. These group coaching sessions, and I'll talk a little bit about it as I move along. Very targeted coaching with small groups of people, so that there's enough airtime for the participants within the workshop. Besides this, of course, we also have bite-sized workshops based on what we spoke about, our barriers for women, just to make sure that we increasing awareness around that, and also giving tools and resources to women to support them, then do away with these barriers, which may act as an impediment to their own career progression within the company. And some of these bite-sized workshops are building strategic networks, navigating power and politics, and I did make a mention to you that becomes extremely important, both from a performance and a progression standpoint. We also look at a bite-sized module in terms of confidence and self-belief buildup. And of course, then finally, we definitely have a program wrap up and evaluation in terms of, and we do a third level measurement as well. Now, talk about that as we move on. If we move to the next slide, of course, I'll just talk a little bit about, what we're really covering, in terms of the bigger rock, so to say, as far as the program is concerned. So a lot of focus on the individual development plan and a very targeted one. The aim of the IDP is, of course, to support participants in identifying and developing skills, capabilities, and personal competences, and also experiences which are required for the future role or types of role that the participants aspire for within the company. And there's a one-on-one development planning session to identify key development needs, a qualitative feedback from on call with the line leader, with the external agency which supports us with the program, and of course, like I mentioned earlier, three-way coaching support. And here, the manager again plays a critical role because both in terms of on-the-job experiences, in terms of classroom training, and coaching and mentoring, the manager does provide support across the journey for each of the participants. Moving on, what we cover, of course, in the authentic leadership, which is the next slide. Amreen, thank you so much. So, what we mentioned that, sometimes we get caught in the wrap of cookie cutter approach to leadership. And that is what we don't want our women leaders to get into. We want to make sure that they are developing an authentic leadership style. We help the participants navigate in terms of what is authentic leadership and what does that look to the participant. We talk about, how far are they from being authentic leaders, and how do they wish to express their authentic leadership, as they manage their teams and climb up the corporate ladder. Uh, the workshop, of course, has a strong bias towards reflection and action. And, in fact, each of these areas, we made sure that, the program's designed in a manner where there's a lot of focus on action rather than on theory, many group discussions. And of course, because we put people into small cohorts, they also start forming their networks and learning from each other as they move on. Again, like I mentioned earlier, virtual workshop, which is, of course, split over 4 days in terms of half-day sessions each. The next one, of course, that we focus on from a workshop perspective is, and if we move to the next slide, is how do you build presence and impact? And, this is, of course, like they mention in the corporate world, that executive presence is something that actors have, leaders need to learn. And why we're saying that is, and the strong connection that it has to authentic leadership is one, of course, we're building your below the iceberg quotient. I'm presuming all of you are familiar with the iceberg concept. So, what lies below the surface of the iceberg in the corporate world is, your character, ethics, and of course, we want to make sure that we supporting that with personality ethics as well. The presence and the impact workshop helps build up both in terms of that personality piece as well as the character piece.
Thanks, Vandana. That was really great to know about the insights of, Ericsson too.